Seriously, Bud is brought to you by OmniSend. OmniSend is a top choice for email and SMS marketing on WordPress, perfect for WooCommerce shops. Easily connect with customers and send out awesome campaigns every day.
Hello, my name is Bree, and welcome to Seriously, Bud, a podcast featuring an unexpected conversation with someone in the WordPress community. And now it's time for my dad, Bud Kraus.
Thank you, Bree. You know, I had so much fun last time speaking with Adrian Toby. I thought I'd do this all over again. Now, I'll be back at the end to give you my thoughts about this week's episode. It's number 41. So here we go.
Anna Hurko, welcome to Seriously, Bud. Now, I know I messed up your last name, so let's get that straight. How do you pronounce your last name?
Hurko.
Sure. I know this is your first podcast, so are you as nervous as I am? There's nothing to be nervous about. You're with friends, or a friend. Okay, so just remember that. You are right now where?
Romania. Waiting from one WordCamp to another because it was WordCamp Romania in Russia, and they go to WordCamp
to Spain.
Yeah.
Now, but you're Ukrainian, correct?
Yeah.
Now, and where do you live?
So I was in Ukraine till WordCamp US, till September. And now I stay for a while in Romania because it's very hard now in Ukraine. Maybe you can see. So last 3 weeks we have bomb attacks every day. And I have a lot of work with WordCamps and budget and strategy for next year. So I need to stay safe. But I was all the time in Ukraine during the war. It's my first time.
And how hard was it to leave? Can you get on an airplane and fly out? No. That's what I thought. You take a train, a bus, a car. That's the safest. That's the only way to do it, right?
Yeah. So you take a bus to the border, to the nearest country, and then you can take a flight or something. So whenever I need to go in Europe from Ukraine, I need 2 days.
I know it's not easy to travel. Are you in touch with family and friends? I'll bet you are.
Yes, sure. My family is still in Ukraine, in Kherson. My parents are city near the Crimea. So it's really bad situation there.
Oh, boy. Ugh.
And other part of the family is in Odessa, which is bombed now every day. Maybe I've seen.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Are you living in Odessa now, or where do you live?
Yeah, in Odessa mostly. And during the war, I have switched about 5 cities in Ukraine, moving from one to another.
Oh, my goodness.
Generally, I'm from Kherson.
We've heard of.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we've gotten to know all of your cities over the last 2 years, but not always with good news. It's heartbreaking, really.
Yeah, so my city is totally destroyed now.
Oof.
I think so. If you watch, so the city center does not exist anymore. My parents are a little bit like outside of the city, but we had 2 rocket attacks in our garden. So there is no windows, so some damage to rooftop.
There are, I would think, frequent alarms or alerts to go into bomb shelters, correct?
Yeah, so that is the reason why I'm now in Romania, because it was very difficult to work. We have summer I spent in Ukraine. It was 38 degrees hot, where we didn't have any electricity because of the rocket attacks. And I still needed to work. And you have like 7 alarms each night.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like...
Can't sleep.
First reaction when I stayed in Romania for a couple of weeks was like, everyone asked me, how does it feel and so on. And I say, I can sleep the whole night without waking up. It's so amazing.
Wow, the things that people take for granted. Do you, after a while, become immune, or you don't take shelter every time you hear an alarm because you hear so many of them?
Yeah, so the issue is that I'm from the city, which was an occupation. So I have started my work occupied by Russians. And after that, and it was really terrible because it was like outside. If you go outside, you have Russians all over. And they can do anything, just shoot you or something. And it was like tank fight between Ukrainians and Russians so very near with us. So after I went out, it was not so scary to.
Yeah. Now, by the way, do you know Sabrina Zayden?
Yeah, sure. I know Sabrina Zayden from
I
WordCamps
figured
Europe.
you might. Yeah, she's living now in Spain. Yeah. She's been a guest on Seriously, Bud.
Yeah, I know.
You're not the first Ukrainian.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yes, she is. So are you, by the way, for all that you do and for what you tolerate. And it's amazing. I don't know how you.
No, thank you.
I don't know. Yeah. So, now this is not a show about WordPress, but come on, I have to ask you, what are you doing these days?
Hey there, pardon my interruption. I just wanted to take a second to tell you about the WP.world. It's the place to go to find out what people in the WordPress world are doing and let others know what you're doing too. That's the WP.world. Now back to the show.
It's all in WordPress all these days because it's very different. So now I'm the CEO of Hurko, and we're making plugins for WordPress, dynamic plugins. But in November, of course, the most deal is to prepare to Black Friday, because Black Friday is a big exam for every project. And the terrible thing is that you need to make really cool Black Friday, but at the same time, November is a month of planning. So right now we are planning the strategy for next year, approving with the team, appointment with holding company. I need to have in November all the budget for next year, including all WordCamp sponsoring, all raising salaries, everything should be included as much as possible, carefully and so on. And I have 2 WordCamps as well in November, so it's very...
Yeah. So what are you involved in WordCamp Europe next year?
Yeah, sure. We will sponsor in WordCamp Europe. I hope so. We already have applied, but we need to have...
Now, what's the company again? Say the company again.
Hurko and Jet Plugins. We're making Jet Plugins. So we have 2 names.
By the way, I skip around when I do this. I don't just you can tell I just whatever comes to my head. And one of the things I know about you, and I love this, is that you're trying to forget Russian. I think that's great.
Yeah.
How does one go about, I know you love languages, and we'll talk about that in a second, but how do you forget a language? How do you do this?
I just try to, probably, and I had to pretend I don't know it. So we use Ukrainian learners and with colleagues, and otherwise I talk English, German, and Italian. Now I learn Spanish. So I try just to learn more languages.
Now, how do you learn? I mean, you're in Europe, so you've meet a lot of people and all that, but do you do anything formally to study and learn languages?
So I'm really bad in something common, and I have already experience to study languages myself. So my English language, I studied with a teacher, of course. And I used some techniques of that teacher. It was a really good one. And German language, I learned myself. So I have my own method to learn it. There are simple things, audio courses. So whenever I walk or run, and I'm making walking and running every week, every day actually. So I go run with the audio course. And of course, I have some grammatic. And once I start to learn a language, I never listen music or don't watch movies in other language since day first. For example, now I just started to learn Spanish. That means I listen only Spanish music and watch only Spanish movies. And I do chat with my Spanish friends in Spanish. So with the translator, of course, but I try to implement it as much as can. And the last probably is to read loud. Even if you don't know a lot of words, but you know already phonetic, you need to read loud, so it'll be easier to talk after. So that's pretty simple.
Is there anybody in Europe that doesn't speak more than 2 or 3 languages and has a hard time learning new languages? In the United States, we only know, for the most part, English or Spanish.
Yeah. So, for example, in Romania, they all talk English and Romanian, of course. But in Spain, it was not so easy. So, of course, WordPress people, they talk English, but there are some complicated things. WordPress people, they talk English, but if I visit country itself, not so much people talk English. North Europe, they know 3-4 languages probably. I know from Verdi Heinz that the children, they're already learning like 4 languages from the first year at school, something like this.
I wish I was able to learn. I'll just say this. When I was in Spain, my Spanish came back to me. So not that I was any good at it, but it's it's enriching to be able to speak the language and communicate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So for me, it's important very much. I learn it together with the culture. So I like when I learn language, I read the history of
Sure.
language. I read why it sounds like it sounds. I learn I like. And now I'm joking about, for example, Spanish language, why I need one more
Right.
language. I want to talk with our customers in one language. I think it sounds nice because it's about WordPress. You need to talk in one WordPress language, but actual language as well. So I just, we have most of the customers from United States that speak English. Other places, Germany, I speak German, and then goes Spanish community, and Spanish community is so active. They inspire me so much. And I'm now in a few chats in Telegram from Spanish WordCamps, and I really want to know what they're about. And, that's why I need to learn it quicker. It motivates me because of the customers.
Yeah. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I'll bet you were a really good student in school. Were you really good?
No. It's how to
Come on.
count. So I was very good, but no one never pushed me. My parents, for example, no.
Maybe they didn't have to. When you're getting straight A's, who has to be pushed?
When I was at the university, I started to make NGO, you say it, not, how you spell it in English. So I was in youth parliament. I was studying students' rights as well. So not studying, I studied programming languages. But outside the university, I was doing youth politics a lot. It helped me with studying as well, because if you're doing city level some stuff, teachers like you mostly because, I was friends with a major and I was always on something and I was a very active student. So that helped a lot.
No.
But I have studied only lessons I like. So that's why.
Well, we're good at, when we get older, we start to realize, hey, we're really good at something.
Yeah.
I was really good in communications and I went to a really good college for that. And I didn't study it because I said, this is too easy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's easy, it's probably something you should study. Where did you go to school?
It was in Kherson. Yeah. It was English gymnasium. We were studying 6 days a week. I was studying all the time. And I was living pretty much long distance from the school. It was outside the city. So I woke up at 5:30 in the morning to get to the school.
What did you study? I mean, computer programming? It sounds like you were doing some coding and...
So I studied computer science. It was
science, even better.
Yeah, it was C# and such things. And it's funny. Actually, it's funny because the teacher for that website building, for that lesson, was terrible. And I swear when I ended up the university, I swear I would never do anything with websites. I am 10 years with WordPress.
And I taught all this stuff in the late 1990s, early 2000s when it was primitive, like what you're talking about. Hopefully I didn't turn people off. Yeah. But that was, of course, all before the WordPress world. I know that you do running. You play guitar, don't you?
I have bought a guitar and I have started to learn it. I have started to learn it when I was 14, so 20 years ago. And now 20 years no playing. And now I'm trying to remember, and somehow my fingers remember a little bit. Actually, I don't have much time because of Spanish. And
do you know all the open chords, the bar chords? What do you know?
I love notes. So simple. I love classic music, and I'm starting with something like this, real notes with everything written.
Oh, so you actually read music and play guitar?
Yeah. So it's a music school normally. Because
not me.
Yeah, it was a way I have started it when I was a kid. And as I remember something, first I want to remember what I knew, and after I can change the methodic. But easier.
Yeah, I'm a total by ear player. I can't read anything, so I just listen to it and play it. You're either a sight reader like you, or you're like me, can't read anything, and you can't. Usually, people who read music are not good at listening to it and playing without a script.
Issue, yes. But now I want to make it easier. So the next step will be try to listen, because I'm painting mostly with watercolor, sometimes in my iPad. And this is place where I can do it without the script. I will send you a picture if you want later.
Yeah. Oh, please do. Now, so you're into painting, you're into music. Now, guitar, do you play any other instruments besides guitar?
I have Yamaha piano. I don't actually good player because I was studying it, but it's very difficult to take it with me. That's why now it's guitar. So I'm trying to play piano as well, a little bit.
You know, a lot of WordPress people are musically inclined. You know, are you into photography?
No, I have nice Instagram account. I'm not a photographer, but yeah, I like make photos, of course. So my mom is a painter, so she's an artist, and I think I have all the artist habits. I can do anything you do with the fingers, anything you can do with your hands. I can do really good.
Let me ask you this question, which I asked a few people here and there. What's the first thing that you remember?
From childhood? So like first.
Well, yes, I assume you were once a child. That's how it got. You weren't born this age, right? I assume. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So of course, I remember like teenagers' room with a lot of flowers, but my mom tells me that I shouldn't remember it because when I was born, it was already renovated. Somehow I remember it, and yeah, I remember when I was little, I went out from the house and eat a sandwich. And one grandmother, so not my grandmother, one old lady asked me to give a piece of that sandwich to a dog. I was 2 years old, said no. And then that sandwich fell down. So I remember it.
Right. Do you have any brothers, sisters?
Yeah, so I have a brother.
Right.
When the war started, he was outside the country because he's a sailor. And in July, he moved.
Who could blame him? And so you have a brother, and your parents, how are they're living? And
yeah, so in Kherson, they stay under the bombs.
Oh, boy.
My father doesn't want to leave house. We have a really nice, huge house with a fire.
And what do they do?
My father, he's working in critical infrastructure with a gas pipeline. And he's in
You know, there are a lot of WordPressers whose parents are engineers. That may not come as a surprise, but that is true.
Yeah, because somehow, we have a lot of things from my parents. So my father, he's a really technical one, very logically thinking, very there. I take a lot of things from him to be strong enough. And my mom, she's an artist. So now she doesn't work, but she painted a lot during the war as well. And I have that, feeling.
Yeah. As you were saying this, I don't know why I was thinking this, but how do we know each other?
Yeah, we met us on WordCamp US and by various forums. So
that would be Mark and Casey.
Mark and Casey.
Westgard.
Yeah, they're so
Mark
sweet.
Westgard and Casey. Oh, I love them.
Yeah, so they gathered the most beautiful people on the rooftop. So
they were the most beautiful. I was there.
So they gathered all the most beautiful.
Only the most beautiful people were there.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I'm going to ask you maybe a personal question here. So I'm just going to warn you. Okay. Oh, yeah. And I forgot to tell you something, but we'll get to that at the end. Do you have a serious partner? No. So do you want a serious partner?
Seriously, Bob? Yeah, I want, but I have Kirkablock. So 6 years, I don't have any serious relationships. I think Kirkablock is my partner, and I have eight.
Is that how many plugins that you have?
No, we have 20.
85.
But
20 plugins.
Yeah, but
wow. Now, for people who don't know, a plugin to WordPress is like an app to a cell phone. It extends what WordPress does by default. And what do some of your plugins do?
Most beloved plugins help you to build dynamic website. If you need complex website structure, so you can use our plugins. It's the most shortest explanation.
Well, but let me go back to the partner stuff. Okay. So because you want a serious partner, how do you go about finding a serious partner? Or you just say, I got to a point in my life where I said, the hell with it. She'll have to find me. And she did.
So I need to say it once more time. Seriously, but tricky question.
You only get one time to say it. Okay. You said it once. You don't get twice. Okay. Are you just too busy now to even think about this stuff?
Yeah, so it's complicated. I have tried Tinder, for example, but I hate that app so much. So I install it, use for one evening and delete because I become mad of stupid questions, all of the same, like you need to answer 50 times the same complicated. I usually very good to find someone on conferences or big events. So even...
Yeah. But because you go to WordCamps, there's a million guys and a few women.
But what is the word? With WordCamps, it's not so easy because they all at the time different country from where I live. So you can build something if you meet someone. For example, if I meet someone in US and then I go back, it doesn't work. So
yeah, it makes sense. But Tinder is one of these dating sites, right? Is that the one where only women can respond to men?
Everyone
No.
can. If you match, so you like choose people. If you match together, then you can write. But really, I don't like it. It's very, you need to filter people, so it doesn't fun.
But it seems to work for a lot of people. I know if I were your age, I think I'd be using those services, or at least trying to use those services.
So I like more personal communication. For me,
Me too.
For me, it's
Yeah.
very difficult to understand if I like someone when I see
Right.
photo, because I need to, like to feel it. And as well, so I'm too old, sorry, to...
You're too old? What do
No,
you
no,
think
no.
about me?
No, I mean, I'm too old to believe for the text without an action. So I really need to
Yeah.
know the person. And what I hate in there, that you're texting and you have feeling that you know the person, but it's not truth. You can know person only in real life.
I know that. Yeah, I don't know. My son found his wife that way, and I think it was Cupid or something like that. And a lot of people have, but a lot of people say, no, it's not for me. And I don't know if it would be for me or not.
So I don't know. So my for example, previous long-term partner was a Ukrainian diplomat. So I have high standards.
Well, why not? I think you deserve a high standards. I mean, I think you deserve somebody of quality. You know what I mean? Hopefully, when you're not so busy, or maybe when you are busy, when you're not looking. That's usually when there's something happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not about I'm busy, because first we had COVID and I had very bad COVID. So it took me a long time to recover. And after we had war, and during the war, I was not able to find a partner because, like guys were in the army, all thinking about it. So I hope just if I will be, since the time I will spend in Europe, something can happen. But I don't push it, like it should be naturally.
I don't normally talk about politics. I'm going to make a little exception here. What do you want to see happen?
About what?
Your country. And maybe that's a silly question, but no, I'm asking you.
Yeah, so I want the war stop. But
yeah, but then what?
So it depends how it stops, because my city where I come from, that is bombed every day. So it has 60 bombs every day. A lot of people are dying. So even in Ukrainian news, you won't see the news about my city, because they don't show news about the cities who attacked every day so much. It's like the city itself, but the area is much bigger and it's divided. It's split into two parts, and one part is Ukraine and another part taken by Russians. So for me, for example, if the war freezes now, it depends, my city will be split. And I don't like it. And we had done it before, like when they took Crimea, we didn't fight for it, but we still have war. So I don't believe that freezing the war will help, because for me, it means in a few years it's over. So I just want Russians go back to how it was before.
I'm not surprised. I wanted you to say it, not me.
And then the war stops. I want, after we work on the economic and we work on the war stuff. So I want us to produce weapons. I want us to be prepared next time, because I know as long as Russia exists, it will be this issue. Because since I was 10 years old, I knew the war will happen. You can ask my mom if you want. I talked about it since I'm a child, because if you learn history, we had all this war with Russia. Together war, because it doesn't work with us both. And I don't believe it will be the end before Russia will become not one country, but small countries. If you look at the map and if you will read the names of the parts of Russia, you will see how many nationalities are inside, how many other countries are inside that Russia, and she's killing that culture. And I mean, if it would be not so big country, like small countries.
When the Soviet Union broke up, that was the beginning of that. But what you're saying is it didn't go far enough, because there are so many little, if you will, countries inside of the Russian Federation today.
We say that Soviet Union started to break up that time, but it was not over. So now it's the beginning of the process. It's still the same process. Because
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just done together till now, till the war, like economic, and they had a lot of business in Ukraine. We were not divided, not actually separated, and now is the process. And unfortunately, it's a separation.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, on that happy note, no, I know. But I forgot to tell you, and we're winding up here, and I wanted to tell you, and you're going to find out right now. is that at the end of the show, if you've ever heard it, you know that I say, who do you suggest I have on a future episode of Seriously, Bud? So who do you suggest?
So, of course, first in my mind is Lana, but Lana is from Hurko blog, but she's just...
Who's Lana?
Lana is our partnership manager, and it's funny enough because I'm CEO of the project, but if I go to WordCamp without her, like for local WordCamps, and I say, do you know Hurko blog? And people look at me, yeah, maybe. You totally know Lana, isn't it? Yeah, I would know Lana.
But I don't know Lana.
Yeah,
Why don't I know Lana?
Yeah, because...
Did she go to WordCamp US? Does she?
No. So she was in WordCamp Europe, and she will go with me in WordCamp Europe because of the war. She didn't want to WordCamp US. It's really hard for us mentally. For example, now I was in the airport, and the Odessa was attacked, and like you look at the photos, this building, this street, and you have lived like 1 kilometer from that place, and it's very difficult for our people. Yeah,
and I assume like when you come to the United States, or when it maybe there's a sense of guilt that you're in the States and not home. Is that?
Yeah, it was difficult, but somehow my brains are split it.
Yeah,
and
Well, if it isn't Lana, who else?
So Verdi Hines, my favorite. Verdi Hines, my favorite Elementor community manager.
I don't know.
Yeah, he was in the rooftop party as well.
Spell his name.
So I will write you somewhere if you want. Verdi.
Okay.
Because spelling is only American thing, Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you'll send it to me then, or spell it to me, or whatever. Because I don't know. Do I know this person?
You should know.
Of course I do. I know Miriam Schwab.
Yeah, Miriam, she's amazing. You can talk to Miriam. If you didn't, I don't remember if you talked to Miriam.
Well, we've been going back and forth for like a year. But it's not easy. So hopefully I'll get her on. Anyway, Anna, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah,
because,
sure.
We talked about some things that are not all that pleasant, but what do you expect out of me? I'm, depressing kind of guy.
Yeah, so we already are not depressing in Ukraine. We can do both fun and depressing together.
Well, I hope I get to see you at WordCamp Europe in Basel, Switzerland.
Will you come?
Only if the gods allow.
Yeah, so if no, I will go to US, of course.
Are you really going to come to Portland?
I will come to Portland. I don't like Portland, but I will. And as my brother now lives in Denver, and now I have visa for 10 years. It's another story because to get visa now is so difficult. But I have it, and I will plan my visit to my brother, and I will find some WordCamps or meetups around. Bye.
Well, I want to thank you, and if I don't see you in Basel, see you in Portland.
Yeah.
Not our favorite city, right? Not our favorites.
No.
That's terrible. All right, Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hey, I didn't know that Anna found it amazing that she could sleep through the entire night once she left the war in Ukraine, is trying to forget Russian, is the CEO of Krakow Block. That's a WordPress plugin company. And the very first time she ever appeared on a podcast, well, you just heard her on Seriously, Bud. So until next time, thank you for your time.